We're going to wait momentarily and give a grand entrance for Councilmember Steckler. Is he coming in? Is he coming in? Everyone yells surprise.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'll call the September 2nd, 2025 regular meeting of the Mill Creek City Council to order at 6:01. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance with Councilmember Steckler.
Of course. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Leah, roll call, please.
Mayor Holtzclaw,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Vignell,
Here.
Councilmember Cavallari, Councilmember Steckler,
Here.
Councilmember Allison,
Here.
Councilmember Duque,
Here.
Councilmember Paddock.
Present.
We started in a moment of humor, but on a matter of seriousness, Councilmember Cavallari notified me about a half hour ago that his father has had a stroke, so he's not sure if he's gonna have to fly to New York, so can we have a motion to excuse Councilmember Cavallari?
Move to excuse council. Second.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion passes 6-0. Okay, audience communication. I'll start in chambers, see if anyone would like to address the council. Please step to the microphone, your name, city of residence, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes if you could.
My name is Jay Rowe, member of this community. I've lived in Mill Creek since 1987. Raised our kids here, very active in the community, and both through church, through youth sports, through coaching, a lot of different things. And I've been always very proud of living here and ecstatic about this little Mayberry of Snohomish County. Up to 2 days ago, I felt that way, and I had experience with a neighbor, and I have several neighbors here who live in the same Highlands community where I live, that really upset me and really disturbed me, and I felt compelled to attend this, which I've never attended one of these before. I was standing talking to a neighbor in front of my home, and a young man came by in an electric motorcycle, full speed, popping a wheelie directly at us. I stood in front of him, stopped him, and admonished him for his behavior. And his response to me was, "F you, old man." And I stepped toward him and I said, "You should not talk to me that way." And it upsets me because I have coached youth in Mill Creek forever. And these kids have grown up to be young adults, and they come up to me in Mill Creek and say, "Hey, coach, how's it going?" And that's the way I would prefer it to be. So that's my editorial on the soapbox. No content, there's no specifics, but I do have some details for you. I have some questions for you that I would love for you to speak to. My wife had a similar experience, and she sent an email that captured that and sent it to you. I don't know if you had a chance to read it or not. That involved, she was pushing our grandson in a stroller on a sidewalk. Same thing happened. Youth came right at her, popping a wheelie, did not stop. She had to get out of the way. That's not right. That's just not right. I reached out to all of my peer group throughout Mill Creek, and I was shocked how everyone had a similar experience. They all had their story to tell. It's just like, wow, this is just not right. And I feel like the tension.
I don't know, an hour and a half.
The tension level has gotten to a point where it's not going to turn out well. And it worries me. I worry about the kids who are choosing to do that they're not being guided by their parents to stop doing it. And I feel sorry for adults like me who may be driving, and if I hit them, I don't know, am I culpable? Are they culpable? I don't know what happens. So I wanted to, in the spirit of if you see something, you say something, you do something. And this is my act of doing something. I really don't want to leave here empty-handed without a sense that I'm heard, I'm understood, everyone else feels the same way, and that we can follow in the footpath of Bothell, who've already have laws in the books that guide this issue. And I can't imagine why we would have to be following Bothell rather than leading them. So I have 4 questions for you. I know my time is running up. Number one, why can't Mill Creek adopt some of the same rules, laws, enforce them like Bothell? If you follow Bothel's lead, what is the implementation timetable? What is the consequences for those who choose to drive recklessly and their parents? And then sadly, in this world where, in my opinion, that money and legality and liability count more than integrity, ethics, and morality, what happens if there's an accident? What happens? What happens to those who are impacted, who are injured? And then also from an insurance perspective, I'm not an insurance broker, maybe there's one here, but am I liable if a child runs out on an e-motorcycle and I clip them because I can't hear them coming? So those are the four questions. I assume that none of those are Einstein questions for any of you. You probably already anticipating those questions being asked. But I would really love for the council to speak to those four questions. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you for the comments, and we do share your concerns, and I think if you stick around a few minutes, you might hear something about this as part of Detective White's presentation. And we also may be calling upon our state senator and representatives to help us out at the state level in the next session, because this is a big issue for a lot of communities. Anyone else in the audience? Barb, is that your hand up?
Thank you, Mayor. Barb Heidel, Mill Creek, Washington. I wish to say a special thank you to Deputy Director Chartrand for helping me several times to work on the National Night Out report that I submitted last week. He was extremely helpful and patient. I appreciated all of his assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Anyone else in chambers? Seeing none. Anyone online like to, did I miss something? Okay. Anyone online? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone. We'll have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Brings us to our presentation, the first presentation, the reason why I'm wearing a sport coat is the swearing in of an officer. Chief White.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Council. Again, once tonight, we had the privilege of introducing one of our new officers that has come to us via a lateral hire. Spent some times with a couple different county agencies, both here in Washington and in Arizona. And he's come back home to come join us at the Mill Creek Police Department. We're very thankful to have him. Officer Joseph Odom. Come on forward. He's joined here tonight by his family, Jennifer and AJ. If you guys want to come forward as well. AJ's very excited to be here. All right, go ahead and raise your hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Joseph Odom,
Being first duly sworn upon my oath.
be first duly sworn upon my oath,
Do depose and say.
do oath and say,
On my honor,
on my honor,
I will never betray my badge,
betray my badge,
my integrity,
integrity,
my character,
character,
or the public trust.
or the public
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others
self and others
accountable for our actions.
accountable for our actions,
I will always uphold the Constitution,
Constitution,
my community,
community,
and the agency I serve.
the agency I serve,
I will fairly and impartially
fairly and impartially
enforce the Constitution and the laws of the United States
enforce the Constitution and the laws of the United States
and the state of Washington
and the state of Washington,
and the ordinances of the city of Mill Creek
city of Mill Creek,
courteously and appropriately
courteously and
without fear or favor,
without fear or favor,
malice, or ill will.
malice, or
Congratulations. AJ, do you want to pin the badge on your dad's chest? And we'll go ahead and invite council down for a photograph with our new officer.
Okay, Martin, are you going to welcome Dr. Palazzo to?
Sure, I'll tee it off here. So, as I mentioned in the past, healthcare is probably one of the key pillars of a thriving city, and we're fortunate here to have one of the top healthcare organizations with us tonight, Evergreen Health. Believe it, what started in the late 1960s was a public hospital district, which quickly grew into Evergreen Healthcare. And I'm happy to welcome Dr. Ettore Palazzo here with the CEO of Evergreen Health to talk about the evolution of Evergreen Health from their early 1970s. And he'll also elaborate on the quality and the care that the organization brings to not only Mill Creek, but the surrounding communities. So, Dr. Palazzo.
All right, good evening, everyone. Mayor Holtzclaw, City Council, City Staff, thanks for having us this evening. I'm Dr. Ettore Palazzo. I'm the Chief Executive Officer and Superintendent for King County Public Hospital District Number 2, also known as Evergreen Health. We are a 2-hospital system and also support Snohomish County Public Hospital District Number 1, Evergreen Health Monroe. I am joined tonight by a couple of our executive team members, Lisa LaPlante, our Chief Administrative Officer from Monroe, Megan Wershing, our Chief Nursing Officer from Monroe, and also Rick Chatterton, our Community Engagement Specialist. Thanks for joining me tonight. First, I'd just like to express my not condolences, obviously, but concern for Council Member Cavallari's situation. If there's anything we can do to help in any way, please let me know, and we're happy to try and assist. So indeed, we are a public hospital district that has been in existence for 58 years. 1967 is when the public hospital district for King County was formed. The residents asked for local health care, and they put their money behind it and formed the hospital district. Evergreen Health Monroe, Snohomish County Public Hospital District Number 1, actually has a longer history than Kirkland does. And that partnership, which we'll talk about in a little bit, has been really important. I want to start with just a thank you. Thank you for what you do. Local government matters. It matters, in my opinion, more than ever right now. And as a community hospital, our connection with our community through these mechanisms is incredibly important. I've been with the organization for 22 years, started as a staff physician after training at the University of Washington and Harborview Medical Center, and came to this small little hospital that was community-based. And that focus on, what was important and why we were doing it was incredibly attractive to me at the time. And one of the big things really was related to the words on this slide. And just like the city has your mission, vision, values, it's interesting to see the core values, a lot of similarity there. These words matter as well. And in fact, in our 58-year history, some of the most challenging times that we've experienced have been in the last 5 years with the pandemic, with the after effects of that, the financial challenges that are not unique to Evergreen Health. And I think some of the headwinds that are coming our way as a result of some federal legislation, which I'm happy to talk a little bit about. But I do think that in my 2+ decades here, the words on this slide are, more relevant than ever. And I think I can say with confidence that we are achieving the mission, vision, and focus on values better than I've ever seen it. And some of that just comes from adversity. And when you come together as a result of situations like the pandemic, it does galvanize a team. One of the reasons I think we can say with clarity that we are true to our mission and vision and values is a result of what you see on this slide. These are our commissioners. Like you, they are elected officials. They serve 6-year terms. And while each of them individually, I think, are quite remarkable, and we also have an amazing set of commissioners at Snohomish County, it's the concept that matters that's allowed us to be true to our mission and vision. Evergreen Health is one of the last independent hospital systems in the Puget Sound area. Local governance, these individuals have one stakeholder. It's you, it's the community. It's not Wall Street, it's not a corporate entity somewhere distant from where the care is happening. And that has allowed us to focus on
quality safety in a way that sometimes it's challenging to do when you're in financial distress or there's financial challenges or other things happening like a pandemic that may be quite distracting. And so with that, I'm very grateful to each of these individuals, and they send their regards as well. So as public hospital districts, we have a geographic boundary. The light green color here represents King County Public Hospital District number 2, or Evergreen Health Kirkland. The teal outline is Snohomish County Public Hospital District number 1. They're geographically separate entities from a financial standpoint. You'll see Mill Creek is not in either of those locations, but is in our primary service area. So while the taxpayers in those regions actually support with some of their property taxes, we serve individuals from outside of that region as well, and we're proud to do that. Our total service area includes the peach color, the gray color. It's over 1 million residents, and the Department of Health defines these by where the majority of your patients come from. The peach color is our primary service area, and there's about 500,000 residents in that region where the majority of our patients come from. This is an important slide. The title says it all. We exist for one reason. We know that. It's for service to the community. And that is a special connection. And as a special purpose district, as a junior taxing district, we're a municipality like a water district, like a fire district. And while our levy that comes individually and they're separate for each of the public hospitals is an important part of our work, it's a small percentage of our revenue. It represents right now about 2% of the total operating revenue for Evergreen Health Kirkland, about 7% for Evergreen Health Monroe. But at times like now and what's coming, I can't emphasize enough how important those funds are to help support services and maintain services at a time where some healthcare organizations are having to cut back to address the financial challenges. I promise not to go through every number on this slide, but I think it's important, just reflective of the work that's done here. It's very unique to have a community hospital have this breadth of services. So from the start of life, we deliver the second most number of babies in the state at Evergreen Health, and we are the last organization in King and Snohomish County to have a standalone hospice center, and then everything in between. And I would argue the start of life and the end of life, both are equally important. And we're dedicated to those services, even if from a financial standpoint or from the margin standpoint, you'd say from a business sense, does it make sense to continue that service? And that's not how we make our decisions. We make our decisions based on what the community needs. Of course, we have a large network of clinics. You can see the statistics there for our outpatient visits and the emergency rooms. We have an urgent care right here in Mill Creek, and that's an important part of the work that we do. We also have a large post-acute care service. So outside of the 4 walls of our hospital and clinics, we take care of patients in their home. And that home care service, the post-acute care, is the largest in Puget Sound. We don't do it alone. Fred Hutch is on staff with us, and some of the best cancer care anywhere in the world is happening right on our campus, along with care for our kiddos. Some of our smallest, most vulnerable individuals, neonates, are supported by Seattle Children's, and very excited to announce that as of July 1st, we're expanding our partnership with Seattle Children's so that kiddos that need those specialty services can actually remain in their community right on campus at Evergreen Health, rather than needing to be transferred over to Seattle when advanced services are needed. So more specialty care is coming locally to us. We're really proud to be here in Mill Creek. You know, all of what you've done, those that have come before you, Mill Creek is an amazing city, and everyone here should be proud. We're proud to provide services here, both from our hospital and the Level 3 Trauma Center and NICU, but our urgent care and our eye clinic is right here in the city limits, and our providers are really proud to care for this community in that way. I often joke when I bring this slide up and say, you'll likely never see the Evergreen Health name on a professional sports jersey in town. That's not how we spend our sponsorship dollars. We are in the community. You'll see us at farmers markets, at the local high school track meets, at the community-based organizations, volunteering elbow to elbow with the folks where it matters to them. And that's the Evergreen Health story. That will not change. And that's the commitment of being a public hospital district. We're proud members of the Mill Creek Chamber of Commerce, and our partnerships with the businesses are equally important as well. So we'll talk about this levy funding that comes in. We are one of 38 hospital districts that have a levy and operate a hospital. And we're one of the only ones that I'm aware of that actually redirect some of those maintenance and operation levies into community-based programs that are both internal and external to the organization. $6.2 million last year were directed towards these levy-funded programs, and you can see the different categories with youth mental health, our senior center, both for in the hospital at our geriatrics clinic, but also funding senior center programs outside of the organization, addressing social determinants of health through our community health access team, what we call the chat team, and then focusing on end-of-life care and making sure that we have those services available are all part of those levy-funded programs. It's one thing to have a broad spectrum of services. It's another to do them and deliver them in a way that we would want for ourselves. If I was a patient, and I am a patient of Evergreen Health, or my family, my daughter was born there, and when we look at how hospitals are assessed, whether you like it or not, every hospital gets graded on their outcomes. These are a various list of organizations that grade hospitals. Health grades, the blue badges, are a mechanism through observed to expected outcomes to rate specialties that are provided by hospitals, and it rolls up into a full hospital ranking system. Evergreen Health has been a 50 best hospital in the nation for 5 years in a row. There's others on here. I'll draw your attention to the Leapfrog green one. Twice a year, we get a letter grade from the Leapfrog organization. They look at our outcomes and process measures, and hospitals come home with grades anywhere from A to F. And some hospitals do receive grades that you wouldn't be proud to bring home if you were a kiddo back in the days when we brought report cards home to our mom and dad. Evergreen Health has been an A-graded hospital now for 6 years in a row. There's others as well, and they grade hard. This is the most recent Leapfrog grading, and you can see the geography and where we're at. So there's great healthcare in Puget Sound, no question about it. Evergreen Health is leading the charge with some of the best outcomes anywhere in the country right now. And if I were to kind of distill it down to something I think that speaks volumes, right now, there are 10 hospitals in the country that have achieved top 50 status, Leapfrog A, and CMS 5-star designation. And there's probably a shorter list when you look at the consecutive number of years. Now, I promise, I'm not saying that Evergreen Health is better than the Mayo Clinics or the Stanfords of the world. I am saying that this is ordered alphabetically, and Evergreen starts with an E, so we get to go to the top. That was just an accident that it was organized that way. But in all seriousness, we take quality and safety seriously. It is what we do. We don't pass go without looking at the type of care that we provide. So it's not all unicorns and rainbows. Unfortunately, we have seen significant challenges from the financial aspect for healthcare in Washington State over the last 5 years. This is data from the Washington State Hospital Association. In full disclosure, I am a board member on the Washington State Hospital Association. We talk about this at length. Other CEOs through the state are trying to figure out how to deal with some of the most challenging financial times. And you can see over the last 5 years through the third quarter of 2024, when data was available, operating losses are nearing $5 billion. That is not sustainable. The good news, both for Evergreen Health and other hospitals in 2025, is that the operating margins have improved. There are a number of reasons for that. The biggest reason this happened was noted on the right side of this slide, and it speaks to a simple math equation. Expenses, labor costs went up dramatically quicker than reimbursement that came from government and commercial payers. And so that leads to a very, very challenging situation. The headlines that are listed here are not unique to Washington State. When you look at the healthcare layoffs for 2025, 15,000 healthcare jobs have been eliminated so far in 2025 throughout the country, about 550 in Washington State. And these are largely related to trying to address the financial challenges at a time when access to healthcare, I think, is more difficult than ever. Some of these others speak to some specific closures that are happening around us. And unfortunately, I believe there will be more coming. And some of this relates to some of the financial headwinds that will be the result of HR 1, the One Big Beautiful Bill, and Medicaid cuts that will be coming over the next decade. Busy slide, but just to point out, and as a public employee, I am apolitical, I am nonpartisan, but we have to address some of the decisions that are made both locally and at the federal level. And the quote from Cassie Sauer, our president of the Washington State Hospital Association, I do not think it is an exaggeration. When you cut out $1 trillion of funding for an essential service like Medicaid over a decade, only one thing can happen, and that is services will start to look different. And for those that say, well, I'm not a Medicaid recipient, I don't even know anyone on Medicaid, I need you to know this is going to affect you too, because these patients will only be able to then get care in our emergency rooms. And we already know wait times there are long. And so emergencies, trauma needs, all of that will be challenged. The data on the right, I won't spend too much time on, but we have a lot of folks that are supported by Medicaid in the state. 39% of our children in the state, 16% in rural areas, and 35% of our births are supported through Medicaid funds. That's a challenging thing when you talk about those degree of cuts. We have a lower Medicaid payer mix at our region here, but at Harborview, where I used to work, it's 40% of their payer mix, and it's an existential concern when you start to look at what is coming down the line. Hospitals are addressing this in a couple different ways, closing services to address financial challenges or consolidating. This is a graphic that just sort of describes the last 2 decades. What's been happening is we used to have a lot of independent hospitals like Evergreen Health, and now we're seeing just really 5 systems because hospitals have needed to partner to address some of these economies of scale. The most recent being our friends at Overlake, just 10 miles south, are now part of a bigger system with MultiCare. I'm not saying consolidation is bad. I'm just saying that decision-making then starts to go in a different location from where the care is happening, which can have effects that maybe aren't unexpected. So just to wrap up, I love this slide. Here's 1972 when the doors opened. We had just 22,000 residents in our hospital district. We had a levy at that time at the statutory maximum of 75 cents per 1,000. Today, we have grown significantly, 15 times the number of individuals in the direct hospital district for Kirkland. And the levy actually has gone down in rate because property values have gone up and the levies can only go up by 1% per year. For the first time ever in our history, on August 5th, we went out for a levy lid lift, and the community of King County Public Hospital District 2 said yes, with 61% approval, and we are incredibly grateful to them. The levy, which was the lowest of any public hospital district up until the vote, now will be going up to 50 cents per 1,000, and will be helping us address some of the headwinds that are coming as a result of the challenges and changes that I've described. So what will we be doing with the extra funds? Our goal is to expand rather than contract, increase primary care, behavioral health care, expand our surgical and procedural capabilities for a growing population that needs those services, making sure that we have the up-to-date equipment and technology that will allow those continued excellent outcomes to be there for our patients. If folks are interested in learning more about that, we have some details on our website. So I think I will close there, but end where I started with a thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for allowing us to come and talk a bit about Evergreen Health, the challenges around us, and also to share our commitment to you, to our community. Whether you're in the hospital district proper or not, we are here for you. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that council might have for me.
Thank you, Dr. Poisson. Questions? Councilmember Steckler?
Great presentation. Thank you. You mentioned at the beginning about some of the Fed cuts and how they might be impacting. If you could offer us some your knowledge about them. I'm particularly interested in the potential loss of tax credit for healthcare, which I think goes into effect next year.
It does.
And that's going to affect a lot of people's ability to have healthcare, and what your thoughts are on that and what you think is going to happen with that. And also in regards to the Medicaid cuts, since they're spread over such a long period of time, what do you foresee as the initial impact of the Medicaid cuts?
That's a great question. There's still a bit of unknown. We do know that, the way that Medicaid funding works, it's a federal-state partnership separate from the tax credit piece, which I'm happy to speak to a bit. But the biggest challenge that we're concerned about is the matching federal funds and how that currently happens. So, the state has an option. They can try to close the gap of the decreases that are going to be coming from the federal match. I think everyone here understands that's a challenging proposition given the state budget and the $16 billion gap that they just had to close with legislative session. So with that in mind, when you look at what will happen then, the biggest concern is we will not stop taking care of patients. If you have Medicaid, you still will have healthcare needs. And so uncompensated care, charity care is going to go up. Those financial challenges that we described earlier, those operating margins will that we're just coming out of from the 5 years from the pandemic will be difficult. I think the tax credit piece also leads to a concern that there'll be more people because of the expense that they will have to burden will say, I just can't afford to participate in the exchange. And so then they too will be uncovered. but will still need care. And this is where that concern about where will you get your primary care? You're going to come to the emergency room. We are required by federal law. I argue that we're required morally to take care of every patient that shows up in our ER, regardless if it's for an emergency or, the care they need. And so that is, what I think that picture looks like. It's a little bleak. The initial cuts for the matching start 2 years in. And again, we don't know if there's going to be enough advocacy to say it's unsustainable when rural hospitals that have large payer mixes of Medicaid can't stay open and close their doors. That may be the signal that the folks at the federal level will say this may be not the right decision. I'm speculating here, and perhaps new legislation will need to be considered to address this.
Roughly how many people in our state are on tax subsidized or tax credit healthcare?
Yeah, so we have about 23, almost 25% of the population in Washington State receives Medicaid benefit. Almost half of children are on Medicaid benefit, just to put it all in perspective.
Other questions? Thank you for the presentation. You guys give great quality of care. I have elderly parents, and over the last 4 years, I think we've had 8 ER visits and extended stays at the hospital, and the level of care has always been fantastic. So appreciate that, and I don't envy the challenges that you guys are facing and we all face.
Well, thank you for trusting your family with with care from us, and we'll figure it out. We have to. We don't have a choice.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
For coming tonight. Okay. With all due respect to Detective White, I'm going to pull rank. And since we have some interested members of the audience here, I'm going to ask if Chief White could give his presentation update on e-motorcycles, not e-bikes, e-motorcycles. And again, we share your concerns. Did everyone get the email from a constituent over the weekend of they report on that incident where a kid rode one of these into the Safeway over here and through the aisles? I mean, these things are out of control. So please give us an update.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Pro Tem, Council, guests here with us today. Thank you for coming to speak to us today. This has been a concern of ours for quite some time, and we have some plans to address it. First, I want to make it a little bit easier to understand that we use the term e-motorcycles frequently. And under the definition of a motorcycle, there is no real, if it's combustion motor or an electric motor, it doesn't change anything. So if it is a motorcycle with pegs, if it is self-propelled with a motor, it is considered a motorcycle per the RCW. So what Bothell is doing and what we have instructed our officers to do is to enforce rules and regulations in the RCW regarding the operation of a motorcycle. So in other words, if you are riding an e-motorcycle, which is a motorcycle, if you are riding a motorcycle, you must be licensed and endorsed by the Director of Licensing to operate a motorcycle. So where does this come into play? So this comes into play with those individuals that are most likely over the age of 16 when they're operating a motorcycle legally. There are some restrictions regarding motorcycle operation in regards to the required safety equipment, such as rearview mirrors, such as brake lights, such as headlights, such as turn signals. A lot of these motorcycles that we're seeing ridden by some of the youth in Mill Creek don't have those safety requirements. So what we're doing is we're addressing it through the RCW, and that's similar to what Bothell's doing. To date, I'm not aware of any special ordinances that Bothell has put in place. They are typically utilizing the RCW. And to do so, they're writing infractions and writing criminal citations to individuals that are operating these motorcycles under the age of 16. So that creates a couple of different problems. There is definitely issues with our prosecution and defense when it comes to those issues. We have to work with them to iron out the wrinkles in regards to the prosecution of these younger offenders. So we're in the process of doing that. We are also in the process of reviewing our ordinances with our city attorney to see if there's alternative means to address those violations. One of the things that we have is an ordinance 1028, which allows for some optional enforcement methods in regards to electric scooters, which are a completely different animal. but we will be addressing those in the coming weeks. We're hoping to have something for council by the 23rd. So the city attorney and myself and the deputy director will be looking at those. So in regards to what we've asked our officers to do, we have asked our officers to follow the RCW currently. We have created a warning data sheet, an information sheet, that on the first contact with individuals that are operating motorcycles without a license or endorsement, they will be provided with this information sheet, which gives them all the information regarding motorcycles, the difference between a motorcycles and an e-bicycle, which is very specific and defined by the RCW. On a second, that contact would then be entered into our record management system. So if we come across an individual that's on a second offense, we have other means of dealing with repeat offenders. If that means that we're going to be issuing infractions, issuing citations, there's some discretion for the officers to follow different paths that way. So we feel that this is the best movement forward right now. Like I said, we're reviewing the ordinances right now. We can come back to council with any other recommendations on the 23rd. But this at least puts us in the right place, and our officers have some guidance as to how they should address issues that they're seeing. I would ask that the community contact us when they have issues, so that we can get into the area as soon as possible and contact as many individuals as we can to provide this information to them. A lot of this is knowledge. Some of the juveniles that we're contacting may not know that they're violating the law. Some of the parents that have purchased these motorcycles for their kids may not know that their children are violating the law. So we need to educate them. We've started a social media campaign. There's been several emails and social media posts that have gone out. So we're working on both sides of that to address the issue. To answer your questions the best I can, sir, the 4 questions that you had for us. Again, Bothell, we're following the same RCW that Bothell has. I hope that answered that question for you. We are looking at the adoption of possible ordinances that will help us to enforce this and put more tools in the toolbox so that we can address the issue. Timetable, like I said, the September 23rd is what we're hoping to accomplish that. Consequences that they rise from criminal prosecution, filing of charges for criminal offenses, and fines. If you're operating a motor vehicle without a license, without ID, that is a misdemeanor offense. So there's possible jail associated with that, detention, or financial fines. So parents' culpability, parents have a responsibility to address issues that are brought up by their dependents. So whatever the court finds in those cases, there will be some responsibility on the parents for those issues. I would expect. I can't speak for sure for the courts. And I would also say that if there's an accident, if there's a violation of the rules of the road, then the officers will take the appropriate action. Insurance companies will make their own determination who's at fault. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion between those insurance agencies to determine what the responsibility is. So I hope that answers the questions for you, sir. If you have any further questions, I'm happy to answer those too. And with that, I'll leave it open to the council for any questions.
Chief, when I buy a car, they ask for my driver's license. I assume if I walked in and bought a motorcycle, to drive it off the lot, they're gonna ask for your driver's license and show the endorsement. And if that's the case, how in the heck are we selling these things that are by state law a motorcycle that you can go into Costco or wherever and pull off the shelf?
That's a very good question, Mayor. A lot of these things are absolutely available online as well. And I don't know if the questions are being asked of the parents when they're purchasing these items. So maybe that's some place where the legislature could help us.
Councilmember Duque?
I really appreciate everyone coming out. This is not obviously for us, not the first time we've had people come, not the first time we've had emails. I, as a leader in my school's PTA, right? It's definitely a concern that I've heard or I get calls about all the time, questions for. What I wanted to share is I've spoken to 2 parents whose kids have these motorcycles. That's because that's what we're that's what they are. And in both instances, I asked them, you know, why their middle schooler has this, or, you know, what that, and they were both very clear that their kids did all the research for it, that it was allowed because it doesn't hit a certain speed limit, and that they only ride it in certain areas, and they're doing their best. And I think that's probably the biggest disconnect, you know, obviously, because when kids are not around their parents, they behave differently. Because I do see quite a bit of, there's in my neighborhood, 2 families that I know that the parents are riding with their children on their bikes. And so there's this language, and now because we're moving past summer, now school has started, I really think, and I really appreciate the social media campaign that has been going on and being shared. But I think there's an opportunity to really connect with our schools and with the local PTAs to connect with them about this, because the parents I spoke to really 100% said, nope, this is completely allowed, and my child is allowed to be out there, and they behave the best way that they can, which is wonderful, because I know I don't trust my 10-year-old, and I love him with all my heart, but he's not someone I would ever, you know, I ride my regular bicycle with him. But that's the kind of thing that I feel like there's that disconnect where they really think because it's available, of course it's legal, because if it was a motorcycle, they wouldn't be able to get access to. So if there's some way that we can make that connection with local PTAs or the schools to share that information, I think that's the next step. And it was difficult during the summer because those groups aren't as active in communicating, but even seeing if we can get it into their newsletters or anything like that, especially middle school and high school, seems like the best bet. And I really appreciate everything you guys have done, because I look at the local Facebook groups, obviously, and I'm constantly seeing either posts talking about this issue or people saying, oh, I just saw the police out there, I just saw this interaction. And so I know that we're doing our best in trying to do it. And what you said about making sure we're calling is really big, because even I was just sharing, even today, I was just walking my dog before my kids got off of school, and I had someone just come up quickly on the sidewalk on their motorcycle. And, you know, I couldn't imagine that he's not a 6th grader, you know, or a 7th grader at that. So thank you for all your work on this.
The misconception is there's definitely a difference between what an e-bicycle is and what a motorcycle is. And that's what we really have to look at, those RCW definitions about being pedal assisted versus having pegs. And, you know, they talk about 50 cc's regarding an endorsement. Those are, you know, really in regards to scooters and things of that nature. And, you know, that's when it comes to a motorcycle, we were doing some of the math earlier today, and a 4,000 watt e-bicycle will go 50 miles an hour. So most of that's a rather expensive e-bicycle. So the typical ones that we're seeing are in the 1,500 to 2,000 watt range, still capable of going well over 25 miles an hour. We made 9 contacts the other day, and of those contacts, we were able to educate both the riders and the parents. The parents were very understanding, and it seems like we're getting a message delivered in an efficient manner.
If these are motorcycles, are they subject to the insurance requirements? Does the operator have to carry insurance?
Interesting that a motorcycle operator only has to, their insurance requirements are less.
But they still are supposed to have some insurance.
I can't remember exactly what it is, Sergeant or Officer LaRose, the requirements for a motorcycle operator insurance. Full insurance?
Yeah.
Motorcycle.
Yeah, that may be another, in addition to the PTAs, reaching out to the insurance agencies in the city to educate their clientele of the potential risk that they're facing, liability that they're facing. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief White. I have a question first, and then I have a comment. So my question is, I've been seeing online that we've actually impounded some bikes. Have we impounded bikes, or is that just what residents are thinking? So how's that going?
We have impounded one e-bicycle, and I would have to defer. What was that in case regarding? Was it found? Yeah, it was found property.
Okay. Thank you for elaborating that. And then my comment is, first, I did want to acknowledge the residents that are here tonight to speak out, and like, Councilmember Decay said, they're not the first ones. And so I did want them to know that, thank you for your presentation, because we are aware there's something going on and we are working to address it. And I know that you and your, the police team the safety team is working on addressing this. So I'm glad that we're having this discussion tonight to discuss it. And also, when we want to discuss ideas, because it does seem to me that when I'm seeing them, they are seeming to look like they're middle school kids, but I could be wrong. I think it is a great idea to try to reach out to somehow get information to parents through like Councilmember Decay said, the PTA, or even our resource officer, since he's there. Unfortunately, I'm not good at saying no to volunteering, so I'm now happily on the board of the middle school PTA. So feel free to reach out to
We're reaching out to
me
you to schedule that.
and let me know what you need to give out. So I can work on doing that, but I do know, because we've got the resource officer there too, and that might be a valuable resource to help us get the information out to parents. So I think maybe that could be helpful. So thank you.
Thank you. And for clarification, when we talk about the impoundment of the e-bicycle, of those 9 individuals that we did contact on the other day, those were picked up by parents.
Correct.
They did not go away on those motorcycles or e-bicycles. So I want that to be communicated to the community that's here. So I appreciate that.
Councilmember Steckler?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a couple questions of clarification. So I may be wrong, correct me if I am. But there is such a thing as an e-bike and an e-motorcycle, correct? Yes. And an e-bike, if I'm correct, is pedal assisted. Typically has a motor of maybe as little as 250, as much as 750 watt assisted motor to help the pedal assist, and has an accelerator, but does not have pegs. It has pedals that you stand on. And then the e-motorcycle that you mentioned, is this more like 1500 cc, 2000 cc, big? No, it's smaller than that. Okay, so the main difference though is pedal assist versus pegs. In other words, an e-motorcycle, thank you for being patient with me as I crawl my way through this. An e-motorcycle has no pedals. It is basically a motorcycle, but a smaller version. And they have to have everything, including the headlights and rearview mirrors, license, all of that. They must follow the motorcycle laws. So the difference that we're talking about isn't the e-bikes. Are there any ordinances on e-bikes that we're going to be
We may have,
implement?
be something coming forward to you as well during that study session regarding e-bicycle operation within the city.
Okay, so I understand. So e-bikes, I know what those look, e-motorcycles, I know what those look like. E-bike is what many of us in this room have.
Well, it's very difficult to tell the difference between e-motorcycle and a combustion engine motorcycle at times. They build them to look like a motocross bike.
Mhm.
So they are, by all definitions, a motorcycle.
Got it.
There is think of a vehicle. Your EV, there's a great picture that the mayor's holding up.
That's an
An EV vehicle, a Tesla, whatever you might say, is no different than somebody driving their gas
Right.
combustion vehicle
Right.
down the roadway. It's a motor vehicle.
Correct.
So the only change in definition for a motorcycle is the fact that you now have additional safety requirements, which are required on a vehicle, the mirrors, the lights, those things. But you define a motorcycle as a motor vehicle with 3 or fewer wheels. So it basically has the same definition, just fewer wheels, and operated or designed to be operated through the use of a handlebar with a seat or saddle. So sometimes the RCW is not evolved. as quick
Yeah,
as-
no kidding. Yeah, that sounds like an e-bike.
Yeah. No, so an e-bicycle
Has a handle?
definition, no, is pedal assist.
And an accelerator.
It can't have an accelerator, but it's pedal assisted. It has to have pedals and it has to be assisted by an individual pedal.
Okay,
So if it.
even though it can move with straight accelerator
Still
alone?
has pedal assists.
Yeah.
Still being operated, the batteries are charging off the pedals, it's still having some type of assist from the individual rider. A motorcycle is self-propelled.
But an e-bike has pedals. You don't use them. You can just use accelerator and it moves forward. You don't use the pedals.
It won't for very long.
No, it'll run out, yeah, eventually it's gonna run out of
will
battery.
out and yeah, so.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, but that's the difference.
okay,
A
okay,
motorcycle has no pedals to help propel the vehicle.
exactly, okay, got it.
Councilmember Paddock?
My question was about, well, yeah, actually you answered most of them, was about sidewalks. So the motorcycle version, my guess is sidewalks, no bueno, there's an ordinance for that. But the
RCW.
bikes, RCW, thank you. But the bikes, do they have like a bicycle would? They have technically free reign on the, as far as the RCW
Yeah,
goes.
so the bicycles are a different, that's why we have some
Yeah.
recommendations regarding bicycles coming as well. Bicycles are lawful
Yeah.
operation,
Okay.
Until you get to a class 3 bicycle. Class 3 bicycle requires, a license.
Copy.
Because it has the capability of traveling speed in excess of 28 miles an hour. But these motorcycles, e-bicycles, all go up to 25 miles an hour, which is the speed limit on Village Green Drive,
Mhm.
which is the speed limit on Seattle Road. So, and a lot of the other residential roads, right, throughout the city.
Yeah.
So that's what we're really trying to deal with. And the safe operation of e-bicycles is a concern for the deputy director and myself as well. And we're gonna be coming with some recommendations on how to address those.
Got it. Thank you for that. I think Mr. Rose about to jump out of his seat, so let me.
I'm just tripping out. Sorry about that. So thank you for answering all four of my questions. I really appreciate the respect, the detail, and I feel hopeful and encouraging that might happen. My only concern is in the near term is that to go to the PTA or other things, I not to disparage the parents of these kids who have these bikes, but I kind of doubt they're really involved with the PTA. Not to generalize, but that's definitely my bias. And I am someone, I cannot look away. And when it happens again tomorrow, next day, I will not be able to say something or do something. It's the safety of my family, the safety of my neighbors, and a kid's gonna get run over, or a kid's going to run over someone else. And so I just kind of wonder, someone had said either coyly or accurately that one of them drove one through a safe way. I would like to know, was that kid arrested? Was that motorcycle impounded? What happened with that? That's so absurd that would actually happen. And maybe it's just urban legend, it actually didn't happen, I don't know. But I appreciate the progress forward. It doesn't really help me in the near term because it's gonna be tonight. You go to Pine Meadow Park tonight, midnight, 1 o'clock. I know you know all about those situations, and I have neighbors who've been out there to try to address it as I have. And this one woman was encircled by them with motorcycles as they went around her. And she's mom, she shouldn't be treated that way. And so I just feel like there should be a hard press on these parks where there's a circular sidewalk as they're racing around and around, and have a pressure, full court press, and make sure they're shot across the bow, because I don't think giving a flyer or going, no offense, but going through the PTA is going to get it done. I think they just need to see a show of force. That's my 2 cents. But thank you very much for addressing the 4 questions. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I would just ask also that if you, like you were saying before, if you see something, please let us know. The best response is for us to be in the area so that we can take the appropriate action and try to address the problem that is in front of us. So. They have, if you call 911, if you don't know the non-emergency number and you call 911, they'll ask you if it's an emergency and they'll ask you to hold if you can. So please don't hesitate to call if you see some type of this. I mean, this is a violation.
What we're always told is when in doubt, call 911. It's up to the dispatchers to determine how to respond to the call. So if use 911. Other questions? Thank you, Chief. Okay, now Detective White. To talk traffic safety unit. Yeah, top that.
Hey. Well, good evening. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Today we're definitely gonna talk about the traffic unit, which is amazing. Come on up, guys. Oh goodness, hiding in the corner. They're not shy, no.
That's like, you're up.
A little bit about the traffic safety unit, just so you guys have some history on it. It was developed in 2016. There were two members and a sergeant that established it, and the reason why primarily is because the city wanted it. As you can see, you have Chief White up there, myself, and Officer Bittinger. We started the traffic unit with basically a shoestring budget, and we rolled with it. We got a used Harley Davidson and we had a used Tahoe, and off we went. And I think we made a really good difference, just kind of to start this thing going. When the reason why we implemented it was because every time there was some kind of poll or evaluation or anything that went out, it was always, traffic safety was always in the top three, always. And so we're like, okay, let's do something about it. But how did we want to implement it? Did we just want to go out and write a bunch of tickets and just that was it? We didn't want to do that. What we wanted to do is we want to kind of do the 3 E's is what we called it. We have education, engineering, and enforcement. The education part was, Mill Creek Elementary, educating people on stopping at crosswalks. Or we did crosswalk emphasis, where is what we called me as the target. I would walk across the crosswalk and there would be 2 traffic guys, or there would be a traffic guy on either side. And anybody who violated the crosswalk would get a ticket. But part of it too was also education. We really wanted to make sure and bring home that speeding kills, drinking and driving, all of these things, we really tried to get out there early on. When it came to engineering, we were finding that we were having collisions in certain parts of the city almost daily. So we would work with the engineering department. It's like, what could we do to improve this? Because it's a liability for the city. So we thought, as a group, how can we improve this? Is it our enforcement, or is it something wrong with the road? Is there something different we can do? And I think we improved that greatly. So that's how we came at it. Traffic unit today is staffed by Officer LaRose, Officer Ramsey, and myself. These guys are the boots on the ground though. These guys are the ones doing the amazing job out there. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. You've seen them, little sneaky cars. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But these guys are the ones doing all the work. And here's the work. You guys can see the difference. You notice the tickets are up, but what's the big one? The collisions are down, right? The collisions are down. We can't always say that we are going to have a perfect traffic situation in our city. Somebody's going to do something to where there's going to be serious injury or fatality. But the work that these two are doing is definitely bringing down our collisions. And it's amazing work that they're doing. When it comes to the traffic safety unit, a lot of people think it's just cars and radars and lidars and a bunch of ticket writing. It really isn't. We have a lot of tools that we use in the traffic safety unit. And you see some of them here out on the table. The device that's sitting up on the tripod, that's a FARO laser scanner, and I'll explain that in a minute. You see a speed feedback sign, which is laying down on the table. There's also a LiDAR and radar, which Officer LaRose will talk about here in just a little bit. These are some of the tools that we use, and they work really well when we're talking with citizen complaints or we're doing investigations. Pretty much everything that we do and have the capability to do, I believe, is top notch. So I'm pretty proud of the traffic unit. I'm proud of what these guys are doing. I think they're making a huge difference. The FARO laser scanner, this thing is amazing. Council approved it back in 2018. It wasn't cheap, but she's been a workhorse. I use her for the collision scenes and also crime scenes. And what this does is this laser scanner scans, I could scan this room, and then I could literally take this scan and I could take it completely somewhere off site, and I could show anybody exactly what this room looks like. And think about it as from when we talk about court, bringing your jurors in. It's like, what did the scene look like? What did an office building look like? What did the street look like? What did the cars look like when they crashed? all of this comes together in that, in the scanner. The picture that's up there is actually Notre Dame. And they scanned that entire building with this scanner for a video game. The good thing that they did, because when it went up in the fire, they were actually able to use the scan to rebuild it. So that was pretty cool. Speed feedback signs, these are great. We got the city bought 2 signs. And then when we had the bridge repair, the construction company bought us another one. The reason why is because they're speeding through our neighborhood. Okay, I'm out there every week hanging these signs and coming back and charging them and hanging them. But they gave us really good data. They told us how many cars were coming through, what the speeds actually were. Sometimes they were on, sometimes they were off, but it's a great tool to use. And the reason why I say that it's a great tool is not only does it give Chief White stats for, how many cars are coming through or what the speed is, but it's also a great speed feedback sign when we have residents saying they are doing 100 miles an hour in the Highlands. So we put the sign up and we'll have the speed display, and as they're walking down the road, it's like, see, they're doing 25. Okay, so it helps educate the citizens as well. Sometimes they can't gauge the speed, or it looks really fast to them, especially if, you've got parents with their little ones and boy, there's this car just screaming past them, but then the sign displays 25 miles an hour. It's a great educational tool as well. So that's why we absolutely love these. They're battery and solar powered. So we can put them up pretty much wherever there's a pole. They're awesome. They're heavy though. Specialty built patrol vehicles. You guys have seen them out there. It's our 2 little sneaky cars. We built them specific for that. They're not easily recognizable. So, because what happens when people see police officers, right? They drive right. Okay. The graphics are different style. They're called ghost graphics. They can still be seen. They're just kind of faded back. And they have the ability to blend in with traffic. That's why you don't see the push bars on the front. It's just a matter of just trying to get the cars into traffic, making sure people are paying attention. They can find cell phone violations, whole bunch of different stuff. And I think with both of these guys riding in these cars, it has been extremely successful. And there they are. Those are our 2 cars. So Officer Ramsey drives the SUV and Officer LaRose drives the Dodge Charger that you see up front. And I will turn it over to Officer LaRose for the LiDAR radars.
Okay, so the 2 handheld tools, one is a LiDAR, it's a laser. This one actually good for busy streets. You actually has a red dot on it. You actually point it at a plate on a vehicle. So you're actually picking that plate out. It gives you the distance and the speed. So when you can either usually stop. This is only for stationary. So you can motion the vehicle to stop, and then you have everything for the ticket regarding the distance they were, the direction they were coming, and the speed. And it also can be used for a measuring tool like an occlusion scene, because it also measures distance. You just switch off the speed and it just gives you your distance. This is a handheld radar. Our cars have radar. Some have front and rear radar. This is, on this one, you can actually set it so it actually indicates by arrow if the vehicle's coming at you or going away. So usually when I sit on Trillium for this morning school traffic, if there's a lot of volume of traffic, I just pick out the fastest car and it'll just show me that they're coming toward me. If there's a vehicle going away, well, I can't get my car because I'm not that fast. So and some of the radars on our cars actually have the ability to get the speed if you're following the car instead of pacing it. So I don't have the high-tech radar like he does, so I can't click in lane and be behind a car and get their speed. I have to actually pace somebody if I'm following them. The only benefit is I have a rear radar, so if someone gets by me, I just tag them with the rear radar and I just do my slow U-turn and go stop them. And these are beneficial, so it's, because I know Saddle Hill Road, Village Green Drive, Mill Creek Boulevard, constantly speeding, especially Saddle Hill Road, we're getting 40s and 50s, and he got triple digits on 132nd, so they're out there.
What time of day was that?
It was like 2 o'clock.
In the afternoon?
What's that?
Holy cow.
There's actually no traffic that day, just kind of.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
because there's traffic.
Yeah.
And then there's times you'll get the cars on the road, you get like a 42, a 40 and a 41. It's like, well, you tempo stop all three and it's like, well, you're still speeding. And then some of the stuff that we've done is, well, Target Zero, he'll be eventually, I think this month he'll be qualified to do Target Zero, where we go to do DOI emphasis. We do DOI emphasis, seatbelt emphasis, cell phone, speed. The last one I did was DUI, but when we're not looking for DUIs, we're doing seatbelts and cell phones and speed, and I never run out of them. And that's mainly South County, not specifically Mill Creek. And last month I did emphasis for the Edmonds Block Party, where I was basically up in Wynwood and Edmonds and White Terrace, and I had a bunch of troopers up there, and it wasn't a lot of DUIs, so I think people are wising up, but I still got over 20 tickets from just the main three: speed, seatbelts, cell phones.
And we had a walker roller emphasis on 153rd and Main, where we basically just stood on each corner of a crosswalk. And within like 30 minutes, we had a total of about 50 violations that we got just from one simple intersection. Anything from people rolling through stop signs to seatbelts, cell phones, kids up in the front seat are not supposed to be there. Just like such a small area that's condensed, and get so many traffic infractions just like that.
Youth course lost on me. Okay. Motorcycle safety enforcement, I mean, if they stop. You know, obviously you go from there, like no endorsement, no registration, expired tabs, no insurance, proper gear, mirrors, headlights. Shoot.
One of my big things for traffic that I like to go do is sit in like trouble zones. I'll get a lot of times where we're driving up the road, someone will flag me down and be like, hey, this road's ridiculous. Can I get some people, or can I get someone to come sit here? So I'll spend a couple days and sit in the area and see if it's actually worth, kind of like what Detective White was saying, where people think that people are actually flying down these roads, or they going 25 in a 25, but it just looks fast because there's curbs. Places like Silvercrest Drive, you get a lot of complaints on for like high schoolers that are coming in and out of lunch and coming from school. That is my bread and butter to sit there. I get students who are going over 40 constantly through there. And I get constantly people are coming out of their house going, thank you for sitting here, blah, blah, blah. Driving down Village Green Drive, I'll get people who, hey, come sit in my driveway, come sit in this driveway, you know, wherever you can sit to get more of these speeders that are working through here. And majority of the time, I'll sit there for a little bit and won't get a single car that goes over 26 miles an hour. But sometimes I'll get some hot areas where it's like people are going 45 through there. So I really like getting the recognition from citizens, because when they see the cop car there, they know that we're actually out there doing stuff and not sitting in the office or, you know, wasting tax dollars when, you know, we're out there actually trying to make a difference.
When I was on nights, I actually stopped a car for a lane violation, and the car in front of it stopped. End result was they're both at a bar, they both been drinking, the husband was in front, I stopped the wife, I ended up arresting both of them and booking them to jail. I stopped another car for neither occupant were wearing seatbelts, and miraculously they both had warrants. So they both went away and I took their car. Order violations, stop cars, and find out just by asking a couple questions like, oh, you just violated an order. So took him on that one. And then one day we both worked together. It was an overtime day. And so we did 55 traffic stops and 52 tickets in a 12-hour shift.
Do we keep track of how many of the infractions are people who reside in Mill Creek versus people who are passing through from the surrounding areas?
Records has it because all the addresses on there. So I mean, I don't know if they actually compile that now. But
That's just.
I do see a lot of Mill Creek residents who get stopped in the inners of Mill Creek or do like Village Green, Salvo Road.
My son didn't heed the warning that there's stepped up enforcement, so. And He'd always wondered whether being the mayor's son would make a difference, and I said it wouldn't.
My role, with the traffic unit is I was blessed by this agency to send me to a whole bunch of training for collision reconstruction. And so anytime, we have a serious injury or fatality collision, I'm out there doing the measurements, middle of the night, pouring rain, with the FARA laser scanner, and then I put together a comprehensive report. I've averted several lawsuits for the city because of that, so I feel pretty proud about that. That's part of my job as the reconstructionist for you, is to make sure that, you know, we've basically checked the boxes correctly. There is some unfortunate things about it, especially when there's a fatal. We did have a fatal too, but one of the fatal collisions on Buffalo Highway, about the 170, 100 block, a young man had crossed the center line and unfortunately was killed by an oncoming car. I can tell you one of the things that is, it's tough to go through that and do a notification, but ever since that day, the family keeps inviting me to a music event that's in their son's name. So it's, you know, it's how you do your job out here, and it's the professionalism that these guys show every day. And then I'm there, unfortunately, sometimes for the worst time in people's lives. But you got a good group of traffic folks, and like I said, these two are boots on the ground. They're out wrecking shop. They're doing a great job, and you guys should be very, very proud of them.
We are. Councilmember Duque, did you have a question?
Oh, I did. Is this okay to ask
Yeah.
a question? Mentioned seatbelts. What is like car seats or booster seats? So what's that? Is that part of that step of looking through, or is that something separate?
I mean, it can, like, as far as them just wearing seatbelts in general.
Yeah, is it, I'm just very curious about, there's one thing is seatbelts, mentioned children in the front seat.
Yeah, so children like under 13 have to be riding in the back seat
Right.
or in like booster seats and whatnot.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, is that part of the check? If their kids are in the appropriate car seat or booster seat?
Yes, when you make contact with the driver, you obviously look in and you'll see children under 4'7" who are not in car booster seats.
Yeah.
They're not even buckled up. So that's the whole thing. And then you just advise the driver, hey, anyone under 16 is your responsibility. It may not be your child, but you're responsible for the child, so it falls on you.
Right, so then that's what, when you say seatbelt, I think that's part of it. My children will always be short. I should be able to see everyone.
Seatbelts also include wearing it improperly. So shoulder strap has to go over the shoulder, not behind your back and not under your arm.
Just a quick story about that. I have a work colleague that was in Australia, and she got home and received in the mail a month later a ticket for $1,200. They take cameras, whether she had reached down to get something and moved her strap off her arm, and the camera caught her. They have a zero tolerance there. If they catch you on the cameras with your cell phone on your lap, $1,200. Anyway, sorry. Were you done? Do you have another question?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You mentioned, or no, this is a separate question with, I, in the news, have read obviously more about Seattle area, more metro area, about like social media accounts of groups that are racing or coordinating, whether it's, intersection takeovers, things like that. Is there anything like that in our southern Snohomish County area? I'm from Southern California, so like, I also see all those ones too, so I'm just curious up here what it's like.
From at least what I see on social media, there isn't really too much that happens necessarily in Mill Creek. I do know that the Safeway, or not Safeway, sorry, the Fred Meyer off 132nd and 19th, they tend to have a lot of like drifting things in their back parking lots, and that's kind of hosted by some Everett Car Club. But as far as like what happens in Mill Creek, I don't see too much stuff on social media. Even, you know, driving around, you'll see a couple little spots where kids are doing donuts and whatnot, like on 148th.
Yeah, the last night.
Yeah, like every now and then you'll see a little thing of donuts, but no like huge takeovers that have been happening, at least to my knowledge. I haven't seen anything like that. But then again, we're off at 6 o'clock, So whatever happens at nighttime, it's not really something that we tend to hear about unless it's pretty major.
Yeah. Well, and then that was the,
That's
They were 24/7.
correct, 24/7. Well, and that's one of the questions specifically, because I do see like, I'll, in the morning we'll go somewhere and then I'll be like, oh, clearly something happened in this intersection here, because you can see it on the ground. And so I was curious about that. Same thing with, you mentioned, and I really appreciate talking about the speed limit and about how it seems faster than it can be, because there's, I live near 132nd and 35th in the Meadows, and I know that at night, when it's the quietest, we think there's lots of drag racing happening on 35th or along 132nd, and that may be the case. And I was just curious, do we seem to have like, is that something, or is it just because of the echo and the speed of like thoughts on it? Cause I just have a whole group of community that really feel like people are coming out on 35th there and like just lighting it up. Nope, I got it. I got the chief wants to talk to me.
Well, thank you for the question.
Yeah.
Our speed data that we receive from the instruments here show us that there are always the outliers.
Of course.
There's always individuals that are exceeding, and sometimes at very high rates of speed. That being said, the mere sound, the volume of what a vehicle, there are vehicles now that are being manufactured to have a loud exhaust because it is a desired trait now by some of the groups. So I would not try to guess the vehicle speed based off of the sound of the engine. And we really rely on the data that gets provided by the speed measuring devices that we have.
That's what I absolutely thought. Thank you very much. Those were all of my questions.
Councilmember Allison?
Yeah, just one question. The speed displays, do the permanent ones provide you data too? No. Okay.
No.
I follow people on Mill Creek Boulevard from the park at the trailhead up that hill. It's not good.
It is one of their favorite holes to fish in, though. They do love the driveway of Holly, and they do see speeds coming.
Perfect.
Barb can clearly confirm that. She sees me sitting there quiet often.
We gotta scope that from the record too.
Councilmember Steckler? John?
Oh. I just wanted to say I had an opportunity to, at the last city chat, talk with Officer LaRusse and Officer Ramsey at length for quite a while. And before this, I was incredibly impressed on a number of fronts. One, your passion for this job, and I appreciate that you take this very seriously. But I was also really impressed with how strategic and logical you were. We're all law-abiding citizens in this room right now. Have I made a boo-boo once or twice and gone, oh gosh, I hope there's not a Mill Creek cop? And I realized someone said it, there's outliers, and then there's those of us that made a mistake, and their logic at approaching that and recognizing that and being able to, protect our citizens and not make our citizens be afraid. Although after our chat, I assure you, I have never driven better in my life since that long chat we had at City Chats about you. I've been terrified to do anything remotely
Scared
wrong.
straight.
But what a great role model for if we're talking about annexation, other things in the future. Who only knows what's going to happen, but to keep our streets safe, we're really, these two gentlemen, and Detective White, I've been a fan of yours for 20 years, but I love you forever. But these two gentlemen are just a great testament. I hope media picks this up of feeling safe out there in our city, and the people are going to obey the law. So you're great role models. I want to congratulate you on that.
Councilmember Paddock?
Speaking of the role models, so 2 Saturdays ago, I've got a nice shot of you, Officer actually not of you, but the vehicle pulling over a white Tesla. Just warmed my heart as I was going down that run on Seattle Road. And the best part about it wasn't the Tesla part. Was the number of cars that were coming past. Because every single one of those cars that comes past is like, I better slow down. I better slow down. And just wanted to thank you for that. Did not get your face nor their license plate in this photo.
Any
But
other
I do have
questions?
it, if you'd like one. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the report and thank you for all you do. I mean, your presence is noted. It's been stepped up and everyone notices.
Regarding the comment you made earlier when we were Chief White was talking about motorcycles and you said you buy a car, they ask you for your driver's license.
Yeah,
Yes, by law they're required to, but a lot of those other dealerships don't, because I've stopped at lots of cars that's registered to the driver who has no license. So they're not all honest, but.
yeah, interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to a quick, I think, update on the Fire Station 76 issue. When we last met on August 12th, we discussed the response to the Intergovernmental Affairs Committee from South County Fire to meet and discuss their communication issues and why they were doing the redeployment of the medics in Fire Station 76. And the council unanimously gave direction that we don't meet with them unless they agree to talk about the restoration of service. So I sent a letter, which I think all of you have seen by now. It went out I believe the next day on the 13th. In response to that, we had two commissioners reach out. Commissioner Chan reached out to Sean, and Commissioner Rowland reached out to me. Both indicated that they were willing to meet and talk about the restoration of service. We had that meeting a week ago tonight up at the Mill Creek Community Association offices. I think it was a productive meeting. It was Mayor Pro Tem, myself, Councilmember Paddock. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed a step before that. Then the South County, then at their meeting on the 19th, took up the issue of the restoration of service. There was a number of motions made. I won't recount it all. That's why I included in the packet the Linwood Times article from August 27th, I think, which did a very nice job of recapping what happened at that meeting and the fireworks that happened with the with Commissioner Rowland abstaining from the vote to restore service to Fire Station 76, which did not pass because of a tie vote and one abstention. So we met with them on Tuesday, and I think without going into great detail, the short version is that we left that meeting with the clear impression that at the meeting tonight, they were going to take up, and someone would be making a motion to restore the 5-person staffing with a medic at Fire Station 76. I have their council meeting up on my laptop now. They started their meeting at 7. I'm not sure they're going to get to it at 7:40, which is part of the unfinished business. Adrian is monitoring the meeting to see what happens. Got a report, there's been, I don't want to say fireworks because I don't have the volume up, so I can't hear, but I had requested when I was there on the 6th that my comments be made part of the official record for, in the minutes from that meeting. And according to Adrian, there was a little bit of discussion. Commissioner Rowland objected to whether or not the minutes actually reflected the comments that I made. I've not looked at the minutes, but they're linked here. So we are anxiously awaiting to see when they get to their unfinished business, which is item 11A, Mill Creek deployment continued discussion. So by the time we get to reports, hopefully we'll get a report on what our next steps are, if there need to be next steps. But I'll let Mayor Pro Tem and Sean chime in briefly if they had any comments, but I thought it was a positive meeting. I think one of my big takeaways is, and Commissioner Wittes expressed this, that they took offense to our reaction, which was a bit baffling to me. I said at one point that you have to understand our perspective. We learned about this on the 7th. You guys came in on the 29th because they were asking, why did I come and make comments to them? Why didn't I reach out to Commissioner Kinney? And I said, well, you had a contingent of your chief and assistant chiefs and the commissioner of the chair of your board, who also happens to represent District 5, which is one of the 2 districts that serves our district. And he sat in the back of that room and didn't say a darn thing. So I didn't think it was our place to extend the olive branch to talk. And I think Commissioner Wittes realized the different perspectives. So The one additional comment I'll make, he made an interesting comment that he disagrees operationally. I'm saying that backwards. He agrees with the proposed redeployment operationally, but he's said he would support restoring the service because he recognizes politically it's the right thing to do. So we shall see in the coming minutes, sorry, I'm monitoring the meeting, what happens. So that's, Sean, Mayor Pro Tem, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, like the mayor said, we did have a meeting, with, their, government affairs group. And, I do think it was a productive meeting. And they said they would bring forth a resolution tonight. I think I'm just holding my breath and waiting to see, do they actually vote for it? And from my perspective, personally, I'm struggling to fully trust and believe right now what they're telling us on some things. So I'm still a little hesitant about the fact about the medic unit and losing the second person, so the second medic. So I think we'll wait and see what they say and what they actually come up with tonight, and then look at what the next steps are going to be from there. We did have a good discussion though about how going forward in the future, we need to be having meetings on a more regular basis. And between a group, and that we need to have the groups of electeds to be able to talk with each other so that we know what's going on. And Todd Anderson did reach out to me today, right before the meeting, and said that he would like to set up something for us to start to get on the schedule with them. So I let him know that we would need to discuss that as a council and decide who would be meeting with him. And he asked me to make sure that everybody knows they can reach out to him if they have any questions too. So I think that is a very important step to moving forward, and we'll see what they do. I still have a lot of concerns, but I guess now is not necessarily the moment to bring those up. So we'll see what they do.
Yeah, part of the frustration we expressed was, recall that under the RFA amendment, we had a liaison to the board for 2 years, which Director Todd, I think, bore the brunt of that. Our liaison position expired last August. So right now, Briar and Montlake Terrace and Edmonds all have a representative. Briar's and Montlake Terrace is sunset at the end of the year. But this process started after our liaison position expired, which just exacerbated the lack of communication. But
I think too, Mayor, what I wasn't gonna say, but I will.
do you want Sean to talk so you can think, make sure you
No,
want to say?
no, well, I have concerns, and I think this is something to address later. That the fact that they can have their work sessions and they are open, but they're not recorded. So it sounds like they discuss issues with us that have to do with us during those work sessions, and yet they aren't recorded, so we can't go back and see what happened, what they said, and we just can look at what is said in the minutes, and that's it. And they're happening during the middle of our city council meetings. So I'm a little bit concerned about the transparency regarding that, and I think that's something we're going to want to push forward and address with them as we move forward.
Councilmember Paddock?
Yeah, I guess just a couple of, a yes and a couple of additions. I think of the crux of this, just to misquote Cool Hand Luke, it was a bit of a failure to communicate. And not that the decision was the right one, but it was exacerbated. The problem was exacerbated by the failures to communicate. The thing that I think worked really well in our favor is that Mill Creek showed up, right? All of the council members, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor, council members that were here were and able to showed up at the meetings. And we had Terrence Kolbieski show up at the meeting. We had Scott Harder show up on the recording, or not on the recording, but on the virtual version of it. Organized citizens to come out. and, let's just say, have a spirited conversation out in front of 76. And inside, Station 76 is the, 1828 local President Pat Moore, who is also saying, hey, this A, operationally doesn't believe in it, B, communication wise doesn't believe in it. So Mill Creek showed up, and I think that's gonna certainly should make a difference in how they deliberate. We'll find out here in the next hour or so, it sounds like.
Yep.
So thank you for
Any
those that
question?
did show up.
Councilmember Steckler?
This might be a mute question based on the decision that comes out tonight if they vote to give us back our staffing levels, but I noticed in the article that you put in the package, really good article, they talked about Commissioner Rowland excusing himself from their executive session because they were discussing how to vote on the decision of how to move forward, which clearly is a violation of the Open Meetings Act. And I was wondering, are we planning on any retaliation against that, or are we just going to let that go? Or I wasn't sure if there was any plan in the work on that.
I think that's their dirty laundry that they gotta figure out.
It's not something for us to pursue.
The city attorney, do you have a opinion? Maybe.
Maybe. Got it.
Yeah, there was a separate article in the Herald just on that topic that was, that I did not include in the packet. Any other questions? Okay, so stay tuned. More to come tonight. We have no old business on the agenda, so we have 3 items of new business. The first being the resolution related to the award of the Trillium Boulevard Design Contract. Mr. Bean, the project engineer for this project. I assume you brought a joke for us again.
No, I did not tonight. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, and honored guests, thank you for this first of 4 opportunities to talk to you about the reconstruction of Trillium Boulevard. In spring, the city engineer presented in front of you the definition for the Complete Streets Policy and the multimodal transportation system, which is a holistic look at providing upgraded service for every type of service user, vehicles, pedestrians, and of any age. This policy, this municipal code is for any road that's going to be reconstructed or new construction in the future. The type of vehicles that we have that are major are cars and trucks, transit, bikes, and pedestrians. The city engineer went over some of the benefits for having a multimodal system. We would use for roads that showed reconstruction, the better possibility of separating bikes and pedestrians, easier to implement natural drainage practices by allowing the implementation of green stormwater infrastructure, and provide better access to transit and neighborhood connectivity. Trillium Boulevard is a roadway that meets this criteria. It is a collector. Every type of vehicle uses it, transit, trucks, vehicles. It is a priority for pedestrians and bicycles, and it does already provide transit service. So this project is really kind of a large project because it goes from right-of-way limit to right-of-way limit. We're going to reimagine how we move people and vehicles and transit through that corridor. And to help, since this is the first project like this in the city, we decided to use a phase gate process as part of the way to determine the best delivery system for it. A phase gate system are moments in time. We're at that diamond that has no number on it right now. But the phase gate process are moments in time when we come together and we decide if the project meets the criteria and is ready to go to the next step. Because we're going to be addressing a lot of different items. So the main phase gate items that we have are council to approve the move forward with the 30% design, which is what this contract is that I bring before you today is all about. Then at some point, we'll get together and we'll approve the contract for award to go to construction. And then at the very end, we'll come back with a completed project and we'll hand it back to the maintenance and operations group. So the feasibility, the way that these are written is you kind of start with what is the outcome and then how do we get there? So we want a comprehensive project scope, preliminary design plans, and a decision whether or not we should proceed. The consultant design options will meet the project scope, considering multimodal options, stormwater treatment requirements, right-of-way and environmental improvements, and grant funding opportunities. Some of the key actions that we defined in this are the definitions of the scope that we went with the selected designer, is to create preliminary designs for roadways, sidewalks, and separated bike lanes, conduct a feasibility analysis for low impact development, which is natural drainage practices, measures, and regional water quality facilities, identify construction easements and adjustments of private property structures in the right-of-way, research grant opportunities, and then develop cost estimates and project timelines that will allow us to know what the true cost of design and possible construction will be and how long it'll take to deliver this. And then what additional funds we may need, if at all. And throughout all of this first phase, we're going to be interacting with stakeholders to get consensus on the way that this final roadway section looks. So in April, we put out a proposal asking for various design teams to propose and allow, who would propose and show how they would like to work with us on this project. After a scoring process, we picked, well, let me take one step back. I want to take a step back and kind of show a bigger picture of what I'm talking about. The city engineer showed these same graphics in spring. These are kind of bicycle centric. That's why I am bicycle centric. That's why we're going to kind of step through this. So you'll see the top picture shows that the bicycle lanes are out in the traffic and they're separated by painted lines. The tree line can represent low impact development or natural drainage practices where we collect the water, treat the water before it goes off into a stream. And then we have separated pedestrian paths. The one below shows an actual barrier between the traffic and the bicycles to kind of show that within the right-of-way, what's really neat about this project is we have trails coming into Trillium Boulevard where we'll have opportunities for gathering spaces or places where people can make decision points or go towards transit. There's a lot we can do to help users of any age and any capability to use the roadway right away. This one here kind of shows, because it's bicycle centric again, all those other features will be looked at during design. The bicycle lanes are put on the inside of the low impact development or the tree line, but they're separate from the pedestrians. So everyone feels safe at that point. And then the bottom one shows that bicycles are all on one side with pedestrians being outside. So throughout this process with KPFF between now and next June, we're going to be coming up with, through engineering analysis, different requirements and different configurations that we can make Trillium look to provide the services that we're looking for. And that's why there'll be a lot of stakeholder engagement with it. And the decision to have a phase gate to know that this is the cross-section that we want to move forward with. In April, we did go forward and pick KPFF, and through fair negotiations, we developed a scope of work and the cost estimate that goes along with this first phase of the scope of work. And so the total number is $621,858. $309 is KPFF's direct civil work, and 312 are the sub-consultants who will help us put together all the information we need to determine what that roadway section will look like. So we have traffic analysis, lighting, signals, cultural resources, arborists, because we'll have a really nice opportunity to re-landscape that so it works and has an aesthetic value as well. And it'll, you know, those type of items can make people feel safe in that environment. Urban design, and then a lot of public outreach will be involved with this, and then environmental and geotechnical reports that go along with this as well. Our timeline is, we're at item number 3. With your permission tonight and the city manager's signature, we could give notice to proceed to the design firm on the 8th, next Monday of September. Our alternatives analysis will finish in in January of 2026, where we'll move into more of that outreach, getting feedback, trying to gain consensus on what that final roadway section will look like. And then we'll finish up the 30% design alternative, which will have the design, 30% design plans, but a big picture look at what the cost estimate will be for the completion of design, the timeline for design, and what construction could possibly look like. And we'll be back here in June of 26 to present all that for your approval, which is that number 1 diamond on the phase gate diagram. Without your approval with that, we cannot move forward to the next phase. Do you have any questions?
Councilmember Steckler?
A couple questions. One, funding. Is this something that's already been budgeted, or could you explain where the money's coming from? And 2, how much of the 600 would be spent in calendar year 25 versus 26, just out of curiosity?
So funding for the entire project isn't secure. We had an estimate that we felt confident about when we sent out the proposals, but just the design portion to get to the very end exceeded that by 4 times. And the construction estimate based off of that was more than what we currently have in budget. That's why in this first phase, we're looking for grant opportunities, and our consultant will be working towards that.
If I may answer more questions about the budgeting for this project. We currently have budgeted, I believe, $3.8 million until the end of 2027. We have, I'm remembering off the top of my head, $300,000 or $400,000 this year in 25, with the remainder coming in with more coming in 26 and the rest for construction in 27. As project engineer Bean said, we didn't realize how much more expensive these items had gotten. And so we had underestimated it in our budget and in the CIP. Recognizing that, we decided that the best way to progress on these items was to implement this phase gate system where we stop at 30%. We get everything to that level because that's the level where we can go out and seek additional funding. So while we don't have the total amount to do the entire construction, we do have the amount to do this design and seek additional funding to take the weight off of the city, off of our CIP budgets, and proceed that way. So one thing to realize is that since this is one of the first projects that we're doing this way, first, this is a standard practice across every public works agency in the region. They have a huge stable of projects that are sitting there at 30%, ready to go on to the next round. We are starting this so that we can go and get additional funding. With that being said, oftentimes these projects will take not the 3 years that we quoted first, they'll take 8 years to get done because they sit and wait to get the appropriate funding. So we're doing this to try to make sure that we are using the public's money more efficiently and more accurately to get better projects done for them.
So you asking us to approve 180, 200,000 today, or the whole 600 today?
The whole 600.
Out of CIP?
Correct. We currently have $3 million in the CIP budget for it.
Other questions? Any motion? Do we have a cheat sheet?
I'll take a stab at it.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion, move to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign a professional services agreement with KPFF not to exceed $621,858, inclusive of all taxes.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The
No.
motion Huh?
Nay.
Oh, did you vote no?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Apologize for that. So, passes 5-1-0. Okay, thank you.
Very much. And like the Safe Streets for All project, there'll be a lot of, it'll be kind of fun to work on what the final cross-section looks like.
Okay, that brings us to item H, resolution related to the city's participation in the Purdue Pharma LP and Sackler Family Nationwide Opioid Settlement and 8 others. Deputy
right.
City Manager.
I am here to talk about some more opioid manufacturer settlements. So back in 2022, we had our first settlement that we got on board with. So this is the Washington State Attorney General Settlement Allocation Agreement. It started in 2022. We had one more in 2023, 2 more in 2024. And now we're going to be talking about 9 additional settlements today. The main one being the Purdue Pharma and Sackler family, and then there are 8 generic manufacturing settlement agreements. So far we've brought in about 200,000, and we are looking closer to 600,000 after 15 years. So the split, the city gets just under 0.1%. So the split is going to be based on the One Washington Memorandum of Understanding. And we can use these funds that we get for opioid abatement strategies. So that's going to be treatment and recovery, prevention, and then other strategies around education, training, research, or programs to help with opioid abatement. So today we're looking at the 9 total entities. I know it says 8, but it is 9. So it's going to be the Purdue and Sackler and then all of the other generic ones. They're going to be paying about $122.2 million over 15 years, with our cut being somewhere around 50,000. My math possibly up to 65,000 over 15 years. So this isn't a huge amount of money, but it helps. So at this point in time, we are recommending the city's participation, and then we would like you to authorize the city manager to execute the needed documents. Are there any questions?
Really, this is just a choice between taking the settlement or deciding to file our own lawsuit and sue on our own.
Yes, so these settlements are contingent on the participation of all eligible cities and counties. Since we have participated in all of the others, this would be following what we've done previously. If we didn't want to do this, we could sue ourselves.
Well, we could bring a lawsuit. We're not going to sue ourselves.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could sue them ourselves, yes.
Okay, any other questions? Any motions?
I'll go ahead. Make a motion to adopt a resolution approving the city's participation in the Washington State Attorney General's Office Settlement Allocation Agreement 4 with Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family. Hard to say that name. And 8 generic opioid manufacturers, and authorizing the city manager to execute all documents necessary to participate in the settlements.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Okay, our last item of new business is a resolution related to award of design contract for citywide catch basin repair and replacement project. Mr. Hobday. Storm
I
water.
know e-bikes were pretty hot. I only care about them if they end up in a pond, so. Luckily, we don't have to talk about that today. As you guys know, once we do inspections, then we find the things we gotta fix. So we found the things we gotta fix and now we'll talk about those. So this is specific to creating the invitation to bid package for the catch basin repair and replacement project. So the city put out an RFP to create an invitation to bid package to put the construction portion of these repairs out to bid. Osborne Consulting was selected. This project includes tasks of project management, data review, 90% designs, final document creation, and bid support. With varying repair types and structure types, specific standards will need to be drafted based on review of the city's data. That's an important part. We'll get to it. Why was Osborne selected? Osborne was selected as they had the skills necessary to complete the project, as well as a list of previous successful similar projects and completing projects previously with the city. They're a Washington-based engineering firm. Don't worry, on the next slide, there's a larger version to look at. But the cost breakdown for tasks is project management, $12,092. Data integration and repair type definitions, $23,538. 90% design, $37,902. Final contracts and documents, $5,048. Bid support, $7,356. And optional construction support of $7,976. We'll kind of go through those so you know what is included in there. That's the larger one to look at. It kind of goes through a little bit of those items, but we won't have you read them there. I can break them down. Project management, including regular meetings with the city so we can make sure at each step we're getting what we want. Progress reporting so that we know exactly where we're at while the contractor's working. Project management plan development so we know here are the steps, here's how we're going to take them, and here's how they fall into tasks and project setup and closeout. Really important one is data integration and repair type definitions. So I've showed a lot of data that we go out and we collect with GIS and Survey 123. We have all that to look through, and depending on structure type and the required repairs, we need to look through that and then use that data to define standardized repair types and associating those repair types with each asset so that we have it mapped out when we go for a construction bid. 90% design package, a repair matrix, so making those standard repair types and a matrix of them, determining the bid items and developing unit cost estimates. And then an important one, that's why it's highlighted, is preparing special provisions for non-standard items. I have a slide later that'll kind of talk specific to that. Also including QA/QC and compiling the actual design package. Final contract documents task includes comments, responses to what we review from them, and then doing the updates necessary based on our comments, and then preparing those final contract documents, including a draft scope so that we're pretty ready to go because this is something we want to move on quickly. Bid support, it kind of allows us to not have to go back and forth with bidders. They can send questions, and if it's something that we don't feel we need to necessarily answer to them directly, we can direct them to the consultant to answer any kind of bid specifics about smaller items. And then the optional construction support is once we get to that construction, before, can help with submittal reviews as well as if we want them to inspect, right now, we're thinking we're gonna go ahead and do the construction inspections just to make sure this is a big job, and at least at the beginning, making sure things are getting done properly, things are being put in place properly, and it's what we want. That way we don't have a middleman at the beginning, but depending on the bidder, that may change. But that's why it's optional for now. Just to remind you, this is what a basin should look like. I know it looks dirty, it's covered in gunk, but that's awesome. That looks great. The grate's in place, it's level, flow of water comes in properly, the grate's not broken, so if a car drives over it, it's safe. The riser and sump, minimal cracking's okay. When you're getting driven over by cars all day, cracking's bound to happen. But minor cracking that our own maintenance department can go out and fill with mortar, that's what we want. We want to be on a schedule where we can do those minor repairs to structures and keep that life going for them, not getting to large issues and then pipes that have solid connections to the sump, they're not receding out of the structure, and just like the riser and sump, minimal cracking that can be easily mortared by our staff. That's the type of basins that are in this project. I know you guys have seen them before. That one is pretty bad. Rebar showing, that needs to be replaced. And these are the kind of conditions that we're dealing with this project, which is cracking grates, risers that are sinking significantly, sumps that are compromised like that, and then pipes that are either cracking or receding out of structures. That can lead to water exiting the basin and into the ground. That can cause a whole host of issues on its own. So this is definitely something we want to make sure we're doing right. And then to note those special provisions for non-standard items. So you've got your standards for catch basins. We have a lot that are out of that engineering standard where they have either additional risers, or in this case, you can see some connections from housing drains or yard drains that were put in. And some of those were just cut a hole in it and make the pipe go in. So some of those special provisions are when we're putting in risers, we can look, this specific basin has these drainage connections into it. We need to cut risers so that those can be mortared in properly so you don't get issues like this, so that they're set properly and they're safe for a long time. But those are just some of those special provisions that we got to do the data review to make sure we have those items. Any questions?
Questions? Okay. Councilmember Allison?
So of the risers that have failed, are they the oldest areas of the city, or is it spread throughout the oldest to the newest areas of the city?
I mean, it has to do with age and then also usage, right? A newer basin that's put, say, in front of a bus loading pad, it's getting a heavy vehicle on it every single day repeatedly. That's going to break down quicker than an old basin that's put on a road that it doesn't get driven over. It's all about the amount of stress that it's enduring. Age does have a factor. Everything ages out, but those additional factors like what's flowing into it and how much stress it's being put under, like we do have some old basins and those ones need to be repaired, but we do have some newer basins that are in areas where, for example, we have one that is right behind a mailbox. It is a bus stop and it's area where people put their trash cans. So you have mail trucks, buses, and garbage trucks going over that basin specifically repeatedly. It's in a newer area, but with that amount of pressure going onto it all the time, you know, it's going to break down sooner. So having those kind of specifics put in, looked at when we're thinking of designing, making sure that it's strong and it's in the right place and it's put
So there,
back properly.
are there potentially different design options for those varying loads?
Yeah, there's definitely like types of risers that are better or worse. There's also something to be said about some of these basins, when they were built, whoever was doing that thought, if we just, we're ordering risers, let's just order standard risers and we can add more. But you're adding, you know, those fault lines that are reducing its strength versus two larger sized risers that have rebar through are going to be stronger than 4 smaller risers that now have those areas for cracking to happen.
Thank you.
Other questions? Do you have a cheat sheet for us? Thank you.
Proposed motion.
Any motions?
I'll move to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a professional services agreement contract with Osborne Consulting, Inc. for engineering design services for the creation of a bid package for the catch basin repair and replacement project in an amount not to exceed $93,912.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
I also want to say, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, I was really excited about the e-bike joke, so I came up and I forgot that part. I was cooking that one up since
Okay, we have no proposed new initiatives on the agenda, no study session, and no consent agenda, which brings us to our reports. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a few reports here. The first one, just happy to announce that we executed a maintenance agreement with the MTCA. Over the number of years where the city was partnering with the MTCA, the city did grant certain easements for certain areas. I'm just reporting on an agreement that we executed last week where the city has granted the MTCA the right at their own expense to provide ordinary maintenance on 12 different islands. Some of those aren't entryways to certain neighborhoods. So without taking any questions before we go on to the next report.
Any question? No, please proceed.
Next, Chief White will report on Trilogy Award. Is that right?
Sure. Thank you, City Manager.
Whatever you say,
Now he
boss.
will.
The police department did apply for an award regarding law enforcement executive development. There is an association, the FBI LEDA, or the FBI Law Enforcement Executive Development Association. The award is given to agencies that have successfully completed the 3-course curriculum at the executive level. And so with myself, Deputy Director Chartrand, and Support Services Supervisor Ilea Heath, all completing the Trilogy course, we were in position to receive the award, which we received last week. So it's an accomplishment for the agency and something we can be proud of. I will say also that 2 of our sergeants have completed the course as well. So we are having that succession planning in place and hoping that there'll be a long list of eligible supervisors and executives for the department in the future.
Thanks, Chief. Next report, Director Ryan will give us an update on Southtown Center.
Good evening, council, mayor, everyone. I'm excited to report in on the Southtown Center today. So we've just wrapped up phase 1, which is the existing conditions analysis. And we're now rolling up our sleeves and heading into doing the design work part. Along the way, we've been out in the community and listening and having conversations wherever we can. Since we did the kickoff in July, we've chatted with more than 150 residents at the Mill Creek Festival. We've sat down with the Volunteer Advisory Board a couple weeks ago and had a really great constructive conversation with the consensus workshop. We've also shared a project ad in a local magazine. You might get it in the mail soon with the Mill Creek View. That's an exciting opportunity to do outreach for the Southtown Center because it has such established readership in the community. And we also kept a project website that has FAQs and answers to common questions, and we try to address some misconceptions about stuff going out there in social media. In September, so all that has happened since July. We've come in with our small but mighty team. We've been trying to keep a pretty ferocious pace with our outreach efforts. In September, we're going to be doing some more outreach. We are doing a virtual town hall and an in-person town hall tomorrow. We wanted to do virtual and in-person so that working folks that or people who have kids or people who have responsibilities at home that prevent them from attending a town hall in person, they can dial in on their lunch break, just listen in as they eat their lunch and kind of listen in and be able to have an opportunity in a forum to answer questions or ask questions and receive answers. But we're also decided for the folks who can't attend the virtual, we'll do an in-person one as well. So we're trying to hit all avenues here. We're also starting this week, our consultants should be contacting HOAs and property owners to do some more specific outreach to some of the community groups and some of the business organizations in the area, trying to solicit specific feedback and ideas and concerns and capture that data as well. And then finally, we are also excited in late September-ish. We're going to be doing a good old-fashioned door-to-door campaign where we're going to go to every business in the Southtown Center and we're going to try to deliver a packet of information about what is happening in the Southtown Center, where they can find more information, and where they can provide feedback loop. Our goal here is pretty simple. We're trying to meet folks where they are, and we're trying to, whether it's at a festival, online, or at a town hall, in print, face-to-face, we just want to make sure that everyone has a chance to be part of this project. And so we're trying to do a mixture of old-fashioned engagement techniques, new engagement techniques. We're using traditional and digital media. So we're really trying to hit this from as many ways as possible. Community input is critical to the success of everything. Also, if you go to our project website, we are also providing monthly roll-ups of what has happened with our community outreach effort. So you can try to keep as up to date as you can in terms of how this project is proceeding. Thank you.
City Engineer Carmody with a grant update for ecology.
Hello again, Mayor Pro Tem Council. As I mentioned to you at our last meeting, we were preparing a grant application for the community-based public-private partnership through the Department of Ecology. I spent the last week stressing about that like none other. And I talked with the Department of Ecology's consultant who was helping us fill it out, and it turns out that it is not applicable because we're not using the right contracting type. So that was disappointing today. But I just want to extend my thanks to the Department of Ecology, to Herrera Consultants, everybody. They were very helpful, they were supportive, they were positive throughout all of this. They've given us some other options. And I'd actually like to hand it over to the coordinator, Habde, who is going to discuss some of the other options we have applied for and other ones that we're tracking for next year.
So the Department of Ecology provides something called the Water Quality Combined Funding Program. Basically, it's a group of different grants that have one application process. You decide, yeah, I think it goes in that one, but they'll review your application. If they see that it can fit better with another one, they'll move it into that group. Originally, we had a few options. Right now, moving forward, we're looking to apply for one grant for stormwater facility maintenance that falls under the non-point source grant that's wrapped up in that program. That's one that we want to apply with upcoming stormwater facility maintenance that's required. Other ones, there are projects like Trillium Boulevard, Silvercrest Drive that all have water quality elements to them. When Robert presented earlier, and Councilman Steckel, you asked about possible additional funding sources. That has a large water quality benefit to it, as well as from them, roadways are a stormwater facility. They're part of our stormwater system, so that's a possibility to apply for. We just need to make sure that we're at that 30% so that we have all the information necessary to apply. But the only one we'll be going forward with right now is for the stormwater facilities. Oh, yeah, it's going towards facility maintenance, specifically pond dredging.
Any questions? Okay.
No other reports, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, I'm happy to report some breaking news. Original staffing as was after, this is a report from Adrian. I've had it on the computer, but I can't hear. Original staffing as was after initial annexation, motion approved. Moved by Commissioner Wittes, seconded by Commissioner Chan, passed 4-2. No from Kenny and Lawrence, and Lawrence had a lot to say about Mill Creek and its residents, leaders, and voted no. Likely restored by midday tomorrow. So. I've got a couple items on here and a couple additional items. On the dais was some information regarding the Washington State America's 250th celebration. I was contacted a month or so ago by Lorraine Ralston, who's with the Washington State Historical Society down in Tacoma, and she is the person heading up Washington's effort to celebrate, I don't know, what is it, what's the 250th anniversary of the United States next year. Really what it boils down to, or if you turn to the second page, there's 4 key dates that they're targeting. The bottom line is this is really up to every jurisdiction to determine how or to what extent they want to celebrate this. So I think what the next step will be is to have a short study session, probably in the next 6 weeks, to discuss to what extent we want to participate in celebrating the 250th anniversary so that staff can take that into account when putting together the budget that you all get to consider next year. So any questions about that? Okay. The other item that was on here is I was contacted by Councilmember Mead reaching out on behalf of Peyton Toon, the president or executive director, I forget what his official title is, of the YMCA. Mayor Pro Tem and I had a call with him on Thursday, I think. The bottom line was they wanted to formally express their interest of being part of the discussions. Interestingly, the next day I was contacted by Bill Sakalas, wanted to know what the status of things is. So I talked briefly this afternoon with the city manager. I think the next step is for us to have a level meeting with maybe Stephanie and I, some of the staff, and the representatives of YMCA and Boys and Girls Club, just to have an initial meeting before we bring it all back to the council to have a bigger study session. I think we're gonna need and want to make some decisions on who that third party provider or providers is that might participate in the project, because that's gonna influence the site planning and master planning that goes on. So I think the next step is to kind of see, I don't know if this is gonna lead to an RFQ or RFP, or no, I guess it'd be an RFP, request for proposals. Councilmember Ryan, I just elevated you. Congratulations. Director Ryan.
My reign of terror has begun.
Yeah.
Thank you for addressing that, Mr. Mayor. So part of our RFQ process this September, and this Friday, we will be publishing our RFQ for the DRCC project. And part of the scope of work for this process will include a deliberative process by which we reach out to potential third parties.
good.
And they'll be workshopping with council as well. So exactly what you're talking about, Mayor, the plan is in our scope of work, we're going to be ensuring that we go through that partner process and have that as a discussion and as a dialogue with council and with third parties.
Perfect. Thank you. A few other updates as I roll into the rest of my report. I have the South County Mayor's meeting tomorrow. I'll report on that next week. Chamber Appreciation Lunch was a nice event a couple weeks ago. I met a new chiropractor out of that, and my back is feeling much better. So that was the side benefit of attending that lunch. The last item I'll report on is just kind of an interesting anecdote. I don't know, you probably don't follow it. There was a Growth Management Hearings Board decision that came out regarding the City of Mercer Island's comprehensive plan that they adopted and its compliance with House Bill 1220. And without going into a great level of detail, you might recall, I think most everyone was interpreting House Bill 1220 as requiring us to show that we had capacity to accommodate what our projected need is for housing of all economic segments, and that we didn't have any barriers to making that happen. we followed Department of Commerce's guidance, which they issued and how it interpreted the state statutes. The Growth Board in the Mercer Island case said, well, we appreciate that, but we think Commerce was wrong. And Mercer Island, you are out of compliance for complying with 1220. The interesting part about this is the way the GMA is written is there's many jurisdictions, the jurisdictions that are impacted are the ones that have dragged their feet in adopting the comprehensive plans. Our comprehensive plan was adopted in December. It passed the 60-day appeal period, so it's presumed valid. So even if our comprehensive plan were deemed to not comply with that growth board's decision, we won't have to deal with this for another 10 years when we do our next 10-year update. But other jurisdictions are affected, so I guess kudos to us for not dragging our feet and to staff for getting us done on time. But that's a short version of the decision. I thought you'd find it interesting. It's 70-some pages of interesting reading. If you're so inclined, I can get you a copy. And I think that was what I had. Mayor Pro Tem, any report tonight?
Thank you, Mayor. I know it's been a long couple of weeks, isn't it? I think, as the mayor said, I was also at the Chamber Appreciation Luncheon, and it was wonderful. And it was really nice to be able to get out and to see that appreciation of from the chamber and see all of staff. And I really appreciated it, and I'll leave that at that. Also, I had my SCT Exploratory Committee meeting and my SCT Executive Committee meeting, too many different things. So I just wanted to touch base with you guys so you're in the loop with the Exploratory Committee as we move forward, that we have moved on. Now we're starting to get to the part where we just finished discussing all the infrastructure and how SCT might be able to help add infrastructure discussions and really we're trying to come up with some ways where we can streamline things and having some discussions on the fact that we have lots of different silos and lots of people have meetings going over the same things pretty much, but not talking to each other. And how can we actually come up with something that's going to make that all more transparent, everybody together talking as opposed to everybody in their own separate areas over here and over there talking and never actually coordinating. So we're still moving forward with that. We have one more study session on some different topics, and then we'll be discussing what we're going to bring forward to everyone to discuss at the annual meeting. And I can't remember if that's in December or January, one of them. So we'll be bringing that proposal back to everyone in for that meeting for everybody to discuss and go over that we were given to work on. So that's SCT. I also came with I forget what it was called, the joint meeting with the Planning Commission and all the different boards. And Councilmember Paddock and I sat over there in the staff seats and listened. Had some great chocolate too. And listened to what they had to say. It was really good and informative just to hear their thoughts on the planning process and what they think is important in Southtown Center. So that was really enlightening, and I'm sure they'll be bringing all that information back to you guys. But I really thought it was interesting. Also, the teenagers requesting to have study space, green space for studying. I thought that, because even though I would have thought about that years ago, I wouldn't necessarily have that on my mind right now. So it was really interesting to hear what they wanted to have us to do. And there's just been too many things. So I will just end with the fact that I am going to most likely be remote next week, just so everybody has a heads up on that. And if I forgot something, I'll tell you about it next week. Thanks.
Councilmember Steckler?
Too many things.
A few things I wanted to bring up, obviously, because we've all been away for a while. What did we do over our break?
Should I have a motion to extend now?
Yeah, go ahead. Go right ahead.
We have a motion to extend the regular meeting to 8:45, please.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. John, please proceed.
All right. One was I wanted just a few things of FYIs to the council and audience and city employees. I was invited to a grand reopening of the new historic theater up in Everett. It's going to it's being redone. And I found it was really interesting what they're going to be using that theater for primarily. As you know, we have a forum series that we do here in Mill Creek during the summer months in the forum area, but that's the only place that we can do it. They're going to be doing, which is cover bands, and they're going to be doing cover bands. It looks like 12 months a year. That'll be the idea of the theater, bring people down, low cost attendance and bring the community together. So I thought that was rather interesting. The other one, the bigger one, was I had a chance to meet with the a representative or head of the Pacific Puget Sound Housing Authority, who reached out to me and said, you know, as an elected official, would you like to learn more about the Housing Authority? And so I sat down with him. And we talked at length about a number of different things. And I know that our city manager is already well versed with this same gentleman in talking to him. But there were three things that he mentioned to me that I thought would be interesting to bring back just as a thought to the group here. And number one of the things that he's seen happening in a number of cities is those cities that have mobile home parks are looking to go in and set a program to, as you know, mobile home park, the people don't own the land, but while they're alive, they own that mobile home. And then when they die, the pad goes away. Well, a lot of those parks are finding it harder to find people to come in. So what they're doing is cities are partnering with them to take over those pads because they're large parcels and turn them into actually multi-level senior housing where you have freestanding small homes for people and then a large multi-level home for more in-depth care. So it's a way of actually opening up homes in these cities as your seniors move into this large parcel complex. And so something to think about, and you know, in our annexation and such, an actual advantage of a mobile home park could actually be an advantage. The other thing was in talking about condos versus apartments. And yes, Mayor, he reminded me, as you've reminded me so many times, we cannot dictate to a developer to build condos versus apartments. But he did say you can do a lot of things to incentivize the developers to build condos. And that's what a lot of cities are doing with tax incentives, additional developments, costs are covered by the cities. But ways to actually say, if we do this, will you build condos? That's up to them to decide. It's not a dictation. And then the most interesting last comment I wanted to make is that he said one of the things we can do if we were to choose down in our Southtown Center project, our new comprehensive growth plan, if we were to build condos, we actually can limit the first right of refusal on those condos to residents of the city of Mill Creek. So in other words, you have to be an existing resident for a period of time to get first right on those condos. And that, of course, opens up another home in the city of Mill Creek for additional housing at the same time. So it benefits both in providing seniors that downsizing place to live, but also opens up additional housing within the cities. I thought those were interesting. And I might suggest that sometime in the future, as we get closer, it might be interesting to have a study session with the Housing Authority to talk about some of the things that can be done and can't be done in our development. I just wanted to share that with everybody. Thanks.
Councilmember Allison?
Yes, I have a few questions about the Southtown Center redevelopment. So, I know I've touched on this before, but the businesses that are there now, we envision they'll have some other place to run their businesses if their current lease situation ends. Do we know how much sales tax revenue we're currently making from those businesses and like the amount of space that they're taking up and what we think their rent would be if they have to relocate somewhere else or, within the city limits?
Hi, so we have some of that information. For example, we know that for current tenants in the town center area now, they currently actually have higher leases than the rest of the region, and they actually have higher leases than like even in Muga study area. So even if they were to relocate from there, they might actually have a better deal. But that being said, in terms of the actual sales tax generated, I don't have the information for you now, but that's something that maybe I could work with Director Lombard and try to get that information from her to answer that question specifically. But we are looking at our business composition mix and kind of trying to figure out some of that data there that is in our market data. I will also say that in terms of the business component stuff, that's exactly why we decided we wanted to do a door-to-door outreach strategy for the businesses. Is there is a little bit of a data gap. We don't have an accurate database of like every business email that's in the Southtown Center. We just don't have that information. And so one of the advantages of kind of going old school on this is that we can try to collect and get an actual database of contacts, and we could be able to do kind of more targeted outreach and kind of collection to try to figure out some of that information.
Okay, great. I know there's questions headed your way on some of that.
Is that it?
That's it.
Councilmember Duque?
Thanks for everyone who came to the Chamber of Commerce appreciation luncheon. I know the operations committee worked really hard on that, and it was great seeing everyone there. I do want to acknowledge that I'm very sad to hear that Brooklyn Brothers Pizza, that was, I guess, later that day, I believe they officially announced that they were leaving Mill Creek and Town Center, because they've definitely been a business that has been open to the community for a lot of opportunities, whether it's chamber or other activities, but something as small as really promoting, they have a big space, a community room, or just, that larger room, but they really promoted it for like clubs and youth groups to be able to have their end of year parties and things like that without any additional cost. It was just order the pizza, and they were always so friendly. I happen, as someone who's been a coach, use that space a few times, and so that's definitely a loss. And the food was very delicious, and so I appreciate that. But it's one of those things that it's important to attend these events or have these kind of opportunities for us to talk to business owners that are there and make those connections. So I appreciate everyone who was able to attend, because of course during the day, it's always difficult. And on that note, as a reminder, the summer concert series continues this Wednesday here at the Mill Creek Town Center at the Forum for those who can attend. And the other chamber event that's coming up is Tuesday the 9th. It's a coffee connection, so it's their morning networking if any of you are available, 8 to 9:30 a.m. and it's at People's Bank. So quite close for anyone, city staff who wanted to attend as well, to consider it. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Baddock?
A couple things. First of all, shout out to the Public Works team if listening. The remediation around Seattle Hill Road and Bothell Highway has just been fantastic, and they did all that work when it was hotter than Hades out there. I actually saw them spray washing the speed signs, so now there's no excuse to exceed the speed limit. But it looks fantastic, and they should really be commended for that. Also want to thank the Friends of Penny Creek Natural Area for a guided tour and discussion where they kind of walk through the promise and possibilities and potential perils of options for that particular area. Jeff Doan and team are a very passionate group of committed volunteers that are communicating what's unique about that area and ways that it can be supported and preserved for the benefit of the community. So I know many folks are going to be attending something similar, and it was well worth the time. A couple things. Yes, Ann's commend Director Ryan and Senior Planner Horn on that multi-board, multi-commission review. I thought you guys did, speaking of meeting people where they are, just a fantastic job of bringing really critical stakeholders together and very, I think, meaningfully soliciting their input on what they would like to see. And it wasn't done in a perfunctory way. It was done in a way that I felt people left there thinking, hey, I'm a part of this now. And I think that's an example of the work that you've brought to the city and Senior Planner Horn as well. I mean, it was just a really good example of that, and you should be committed for that. Also, one of the GGLO, is that they reached out to our HOA president today. He had a fantastic conversation, 30 minutes. They were spot on. He said they asked great questions that would elicit from him thoughtful responses. And I thought that was a very similar way I would have thought the folks that left that room here when you did that board review, same type of thing. Listened to his answers, repeated them back. It was just a really good job. I think any HOA that goes through that process with GGLO is going to feel like they're part of the process, and that's going to make a big difference, I think. Let's see, I think that's it. Oh, the last thing on the chamber, on the appreciation, they also presented a nice check, the chamber did, to the Mill Creek Food Bank and to Girls on the Run Snohomish County. Anytime I can plug Girls on the Run, I will. And it was nice to see that that money is going back into the community, and I will also be remote next week.
A couple of things I neglected to say on South County Fire. I want to thank the board for doing the right thing and restoring the service. I don't know if everyone's aware that I think it was the day after I spoke at their meeting on the 6th that a new fire engine was delivered to Fire Station 76. It just happened to be a coincidence that the fire engine that they ordered a year or two ago was delivered the next day. But it was unceremoniously dropped off. Here it is, and here are the keys. Normally, when they deliver a new piece of equipment, there's a big push-in ceremony. So I suggested when we met with the Intergovernmental Affairs Committee that assuming we got to where we appear to have gotten tonight, that we not look back and look forward and start with having a push-in ceremony for Engine 76. So hopefully we can get in touch with them and make that happen. But I haven't seen the city rally about something like this in my 12 years on the council. It was great that we were unified in our message that was delivered to the board. The residents stepped up. A big shout out to Tanis and to Scott Harder for rallying the people. We had, I think, 18 people waving signs. So it wasn't just the elected officials complaining to the other elected officials. The community spoke, and it worked. It was a successful outcome, and it was a team effort by everyone, staff, all of us, and the members of the community. So fortunately, there's a happy ending, so we're not going to need item 14U on the agenda tonight.
Mayor, I apologize for interrupting you. I neglected in my report. I also need to mention I'm going to be out of town next week.
Okay.
And I will be attempting to get in remotely if I can get a signal.
Okay. Brings us to audience communication. Anyone in the audience like to address council? I'm seeing no one in the audience saying they do, and I don't see any members of the public online. We have 13 minutes. Is that going to be enough time to cover, or should I extend another 5 or 10 minutes, the regular meeting? Well, let's extend the regular meeting to 8:55. I don't know if we'll need it. Can we have a motion to extend to 8:55?
Motion to extend to 8:55.
That was a second from Councilmember Allison. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so how much time do we need to start? 10, 15? Okay, so we will go 18 minutes until 8:50, so we can have a bathroom break if anyone needs it. So we are going to recess into executive session at 8:33 by my watch until 8:50. 119 days. Okay, Leah, I need two more bodies in here, so we're operating as one more. Okay, we have four in the room. Leah, it is 8:50. The council has concluded its executive session. I neglected to say at the outset, we would not be taking any action after the executive session, and we will not be taking any action. So with nothing further on the agenda, I will adjourn the meeting at 8:50 PM.